Soul Coffee. Got a super special episode, y'all. So a lot of people have been giving me a love for my hair, and I get to introduce you to the magician, to the wonderful being that has blessed me the last few years and just rebirthing my hair. And what I think a lot of people may be able to identify with is just a special appreciation for the spirit antenna, for the power, that can stem from the artistry and the appreciation of love that this woman has poured into my hair, has poured into my being. Y'all, she is the founder or the creator of Divine Styles, I believe is the name of the company. She is a beautiful being. She is a past delegate for the World Congress of Chiropractic Students. She has just graduated recently, and she is building her practice, and she is building herself and just playing with all the things with her loving partner, Lenny, here as well, who is the man behind the camera, the man behind the lights. It is without further ado that I introduce y'all to the podcast, one of my favorite freaking people in the world, Dr.Chantelle Frazier.
Yes. Ooh. I need a audience applause right now.
Oh, they're sending it. Like, yo, snap them out. Real quick. Oh, my friend.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. The Divine Styles, that is my Instagram page in which I post some of my hair peoples that I've helped and just to help grow and nurture. Hair for me is not just an income. It's a lifestyle. It's something I love. I pour my time and energy and just like I'm genuinely present and interested in each individual scalp and what it needs and how it can flourish. So it's been an awesome addition to helping me get through chiropractic school. You know, that was one of my creative outlets. So super duper amazing. I was so glad for that opportunity to kind of, fall in my lap per se, and me to open up myself to it. So
yes, that's actually how we met. Shout out to Dr. Francisco Torelli and Dr. Kelly Torelli,
Oh,
Dr. Kelly Frodes. We actually met.
Oh my gosh, she's Kelly Torelli.
Facts.
I met her as Kelly Frodes, and then she just...
No, she's not.
No, she's not.
No, she's not.
Dr. Kelly Torelli. It's amazing.
Oh my God, it rhymes.
Kelly Torelli.
Yeah, Kelly Torelli.
Published author and everything. She's freaking awesome.
Yeah. Y'all gotta look them up. I'll be sure to drop them in the notes. They are two badass chiropractors serving it up out in Spain. I want to say Barcelona, but out in Spain. And Chantelle and I actually met at an event my fourth quarter. So almost, I think that was 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. It's been a minute. And I first heard this wonderful being, just had her in the audience. Loved what she was about. I love that she just said hair is a lifestyle for her. Oh my God, it's such a wonderful gift. And she also makes these delicious shea butters. Quick plug for you, ma'am.
Yes.
But man, it's just been such a wonderful blessing to come back into her energy month after month and setting an intention when I get my hair twisted on up. I just, for the first time, committed to my spirit locks, y'all. I hope you see this video, but man, these things look good. They're so healthy. And one thing I wanted to dive into with Chantelle here was, just graduating. How has she integrated the trauma of school? As going to the program, you can go at a 26 and a half average credit program. Very demanding. I know it's reflective of medical school. It's reflective of anyone chasing their masters. And, for people of color, even stepping into the undergraduate realm, that's something that I want to say isn't even the norm quite yet, too. So I'd love to hear Chantelle or talk to these people. How has it been, kind of your journey going through school? Feel free to start as soon as you want, but chiropractic in particular.
Yeah, totally. Chiropractic school. So much sacrifice, so much tears, so many smiles, and great deep conversations, lots of great information learned. And it wasn't really until I graduated that I realized how much it was. Chiropractic school consumed my life. And I'm the type of person, I'm going through a trial or going through a situation, and I just try my hardest to just power through, trudge through. I have my moments, just like everybody else, of breakdown, or, I've had my questions to myself, like, why am I doing this? Why am I here? What do I really have to? Like, can I do something? But, that was just a moment. And just like moments, they pass. And it really wasn't until after I graduated that I realized just how much it was. Going through a program, even just coming from undergrad and going into a doctoral program where you only have 8 collective weeks of break a year.
Yeah.
Coming from undergrad,
True.
you could take a fall semester and your spring semester, and you could have a summer off, which was 2 months or so. Your winter break was like a month or so.
Days.
Those
were the freaking days.
And then coming to chiropractic school, it's like, oh, okay, you have 11 weeks of excruciating work.
Go.
Go the whole time, and then 1 week break. And then go again, and then you get a little 3 weeks, and then you go again. It just didn't stop for 4 years. So after graduating, I'm a Corona grad. Class of 2020, didn't actually have a ceremony.
First online ceremony in history.
First online ceremony of even just this whole Corona history, because I still haven't seen any other school do a virtual ceremony. So shout out to Life University for that. That was amazing, and I got to be a part of it. It was awesome. But that was amazing. But just coming off of school and having even just still that anxiety of, okay, what do I need to get done? Okay, what's due or what's next? And it's like, wait, no, I've graduated. I'm not in school anymore. So just realizing through even just working through that anxiety of feeling like I'm not doing something, as well as something that was just new to me, working through the anxiety and just the stress of I thought I had my after grad life already planned, which I did. But actually upon graduating and this whole Corona situation, it allowed a lot more time for introspection. And, the things that I've just been going back and forth with, it's I really had the time to sit and think, is this something that I really want to do? Is this something in line with my spirit? Is this in line with how I want to practice? So that kind of left me in a bit of a confused space. But once I kind of came out of that confusion, I realized that it opened up a world of rest for me.
Ooh, say it again, sister. I feel like you're hitting on something, because this is the most I've slept, the best I've moved, the best I've eaten, because I'm cooking for myself. I have time for that, with online classes.
Yes.
And I can only imagine the impact that has for you postgraduate life, where it's you get to catch up on the hours upon hours of sleep deprivation. I'm not saying that, necessarily it's a inconvenience to be in school, an inconvenience to go to the labs, get hands-on, connect with other people. But
just call it like it is.
All right, shit, because it's been really freaking nice. It's been really nice. Yeah. Y'all really want to talk about this shit. This shit has been amazing, y'all. I'm sorry the impact that it's had, but man, it's been really, really amazing.
To be just in your own space and kind of move at your own flow. And even if you don't know what your flow is, this time is amazing to kind of figure it out, how you move and what works best for you. And I just realized I'm a person that requires sleep. I need sleep to be functional, and not just little 8 hours either. A good 9 to 10 hours a night is amazing for me to wake up and feel energized, because I don't do caffeine. I don't like coffee. It does not agree with me.
Yeah.
So, once I get those 9 to 10 hours, I wake up and I'm it's I'm naturally on coffee or something. I'm ready to take on the day.
What a concept, because as students, every freaking where, everywhere, aside from you can swear if you want, I'm swearing, so we can swear.
Oh, you're fine. I just,
Sweet. Anywho, it's part of the culture. Like there's a Starbucks and then there's a cafe at our university, and as I'm sure a lot of universities, and it's the regular to just caffeine on up, especially during midterms, especially during finals. People, the first thing that people throw out the window is their sleep because they're just like, I have to, like just stay up, and people don't even know how they learn. People don't even know the best environments that they learn in. People just throw out sleep as such an important commodity that we just throw out the window when we're grinding at work, right? For my people that are on work grind, people grind because it's a part of the American culture to just grind yourself away and throw your fucking health out when you're in school. Let's be real. In case you haven't figured this out, this is a fucking conversation for a podcast where we talk some real shit. So snap at you with me, people. Snap at you with me. But man, it's a part of our culture. You just whittle yourself away, and man, whatever you have at the end, good for you.
And it low key becomes like clout chasing, like that back and forth. Like, oh man, I only got 5 hours of sleep last night. Well, I only got 2. And you know what I'm saying? It becomes like kind of like a braggy thing of the lack of sleep that you get, and for some reason we think it's correlated to our success.
Yes.
But it's really not.
Nope.
In reality. So I realized that sleep is a very, very important thing for me. And like that was something that I've been exploring a lot more during this whole corona thing and just being out of school. So that's honestly been really amazing for me, just being able to get rest. Being able to wake up in the morning and like, okay, Chantelle, what are we going to do today? And have that be okay. Not have every single thing planned out to the detail. Like, okay, I'm going to do this, that activity, blah, blah. That's the great part of not having kids. You can kind of just flow on your own. This is not talking down to anybody who does, because that's a whole nother life. But like just me, personally, from my perspective, no children, I have my partner. I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, what I'm going to do today? Make my smoothie. We go for our walk. Just like being a human. And not having to be stressed 24/7, not having to be filled with anxiety because of due dates and exams. And, I was and still am a procrastinator, a big procrastinator. So I would definitely stress myself out closer to deadlines, closer to exam times. I always pull through. So I never learned my lesson of procrastinating is bad. So
that's real.
Always make it through. But just rest has been an amazing thing. And just letting go of the anxiety of not having my chiropractic future completely planned out.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I graduated with a plan. I knew where I was going to work, what I was going to be doing, and then Corona hit, and it was just like, oh, you thought you were going to be able to go to, these gyms and vitamin shops and all that stuff, and start marketing to the people when it's time to be social distancing.
Right. You had to adapt, and I love that. You hit on a few things, which is freaking fire. But procrastination, I feel like that's just a thing in grad school, and that's just a thing kind of just nationwide. But like you said, it always works out. We always pull through. People can always pull through. And I just like to put it under the microscope, how sustainable is that? Because I've had conversations with a lot of my brothers and a lot of people where they thrive under pressure, or they thrive in the sympathetic. And that can be workout, that can be school, that can be whatever. And it's like people have adapted to learn how to thrive in the sympathetic. As a culture. It's like glorified, right? Because you're glorified, grind away, once more. But it's like, man, that survival mechanism, when you're in that, like you said, that heightened soup of cortisol, of adrenaline, of all that shit, those hormones aren't supposed to be coursing through your body throughout the whole day. And let alone you put in the unnatural lighting, you take away sunlight when people are going to school all day, especially like for kids growing up and everything. You take away nature and you put natural beings, aka human beings, into an unnatural environment. That shit is going to have adverse health effects such as burnout, such as depression, such as anxiety, such as inability to sleep, and
inability to focus, even
inability to be present. Like, all right, with this time, how much more present are you able to actually be with Lenny versus when you're getting bodied at school,
Yeah.
have to do you beat 7 to 7 some days?
First of all, I just want to shout out my partner because when I tell you, like, I'm a very emotional being. I cry, I laugh, I get angry, all that stuff within the matter of like a minute. So the fact that he was just there with me, encouraging me, or even just listening, or just like rubbing my back, and
Yes.
you know, all of that has just been really greatly appreciated. And I've been able to work more on my presence and mindfulness now that I'm not. I shouldn't say in school because I am still like, I'm doing an online master's, but it's nowhere near as intense or demanding as the chiropractic program was. So just being able to be present and to be in the moment and also not beat myself up for being quote unquote productive 24/7 or not feeling like, okay, you know, like while I was in school, I'm fluttering from class to patients to studying to whatever meetings, like always going. And now it's like, I'm not at a standstill, but I'm at a very much slower pace than what I was while I was in school.
Right.
And I'm actually learning that I enjoy it.
Yes.
You know, we as humans, we're used to moving at a slower pace.
Yeah.
Even if you look at things in nature, they move very slowly.
How fast does a plant grow?
Exactly.
You don't pour coffee on a fucking plant, it grows faster. No, it'll actually probably die.
Yes. It more than likely will die. It will probably die just giving it water from the tap. Like, that's how sensitive it is, you know? And so, like, we are human. We're not meant to be going at this just unnatural pace. It was really with the invention of electricity that altered the way we slept, the way we moved, because it allowed us to do things when it became nighttime. When in the past, when it was dark, it's like, okay, you go to bed.
You go in your cave and you go to fucking sleep. And then,
or
when
you
the sun
go in
pops
your little
up,
tent, you hunt, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, like, you wake up early, you go to sleep early. That was the life. But we also got, on average, much more sleep back then than what we do now.
Probably less stress, too.
Way less. Because, you know, just these demands of modern society.
Oof.
So, like, even with this whole coronavirus thing, it's just slowing everything down. So that has honestly been a blessing for us as human beings overall, because we get to come back to ourselves. So, like, you know, purchasing more plants. People are starting gardens.
Yeah,
and,
I want to be a plant dad.
Yeah, and I'm a plant mama.
Hey.
So
shout out to all the plant moms and dads.
Yeah, I've been able to explore my creativity a lot more. I've been able to learn a lot more of even just esoteric sciences and spirituality, and really ruminate on more of how I want to practice, because I went to a vitalistic school, Life University. So by that, I am a vitalistic chiropractor. However, the curriculum is very mechanistic. It's very science-based. It's very, you know, which is necessary in order to be able to prepare us for as doctors. But now it's like, okay, how are you going to integrate this vitalistic philosophy with your knowledge of your, you know, your mechanistic self? So it's just been a really great journey so far. I'm not rushing anything. I'm not trying to force myself into spaces that I just don't want to be in.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get down on myself, because if I just literally wake up and eat healthy and go for a walk, and if that's all I did for the day, it is what it is.
Sounds absolutely freaking amazing, and I love that you mentioned the philosophy of things as what's dropped in recently. I was talking to one of my friends from one of the schools in Australia. Australia! Shout out to my people from Australia. Love them. Love their accents. Love their humor.
They're
so
hilarious.
Such colorful swears.
I was there last year. It was awesome. Seeing all of them.
Anywho, As I love that you mentioned, quite necessarily our curriculum does need to be mechanistic in nature. However, there can be a disconnection from the vitalistic lifestyle because students succumb to the curriculum versus being able to live a vitalistic health style, and that's essentially the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. So taking a look or a view of all the aspects in your life, and I've talked about this. People talk about this is what are your needs? What are your needs being met? Movement, nourishment, recuperation, mindfulness. What are you doing for your spirit? What are you doing for your soul? What are you doing for your emotions? What are you doing for your partner? And the lens that is your philosophy, because you don't just go out and do shit. No, you're looking through things through a certain kind of lens, so your lens can expand as you're aware of, yes, a chiropractic philosophy or universal principles that you can examine, like the signs of life, adaptation, excretion, assimilation. You could think like if some people aren't doing this or examining themselves, living the examined life. Shout out to my brother Colton up at Palmer Davenport. How many of us as students live an examined life? And your philosophy, take your engine, which can be your purpose to motor on through whatever it is in your life. Your philosophy is the oil. Your philosophy is the grease. Your philosophy is what allows that engine to function as it needs to move as it needs to. And it can provide things to just move forward. And in this time of introspection, what I'm really hearing is you've had the chance to just re-examine your life and add a little bit of oil so that way when you dive into practice, you're going to be a freaking beast.
I'm so well lubricated.
We machine, baby. What's up?
Oh yeah, because I've even noticed just throughout school, through classmates and newer students coming in, that we're trying to find that philosophy outside of school, and I thought it was amazing, but I also low key thought it was detrimental because think about it: if you're in school, in class from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., right?
Right.
And then afterward, you have to go home, shower, study, whatnot, and then go to a vitalistic something for 2 hours that night. When are you really having time to yourself?
Yes.
When are you actually getting sleep? Because a lot of those, certain meetings and whatnot were from 7 to 9 or 9 to 11.
Right, clubs.
A lot of clubs. They're
after
in the
school,
evening.
they're not during school.
They're
and
not
especially
during school.
You don't even get to do the clubs that you may even want to do, whether it depends on the quarter. And then there's so many freaking clubs at Life View also that you gotta choose, and you don't ever excuse me.
Yeah.
It is difficult to, if you're full load, to dive into the clubs, the exploration of techniques, the exploration of philosophies, of communication, of business, of all the things that can light you up. You don't even really get to see those unless you push a little bit harder or you sacrifice some aspect to you, and that is the norm of the culture.
The sacrifice is usually health and sleep.
Yeah.
And for me personally, that didn't work because I'm not a coffee person. I can't do coffee.
You don't have to, boo.
I had to go to sleep. I chose not to do a lot of the clubs. I made sure that the ones that I were involved in were ones that were super duper priority for me. But I chose not to do a lot of the things for my own mental health, for my sleep, because I know how I operate. I don't do caffeine. And, a lot of people are hopped up on caffeine all day because, I need another coffee. Right. I need another, soda. However it is that they get that drug. And
how vitalistic is that? That's outside in versus inside out.
Exactly.
I'm going to just pause on that. How vitalistic is that to exude as a healthcare provider that talks about the nervous system, that talks about how important that is, but we're putting in, I won't say something artificial because obviously coffee beans are from the earth, but it's you're relying on that outside in, when it's what if you cultivated the inner forces so that way you could live a life inside out and not, you're not living from less is more, or you're not grabbing out outside things. I need that coffee. I need that caffeine, or I need the Coca-Cola, or I need the Monster.
To power you through a vitalistic seminar. Or a vitalistic meeting, or, whatever
vitalistic curriculum.
Yeah.
So love our school, by the way, but we're just being real. Yeah. We're being real. I wouldn't want to go anywhere else in the world, but
absolutely
we're just being real. This is real
every
shit.
School that I visit, it just re-solidifies that I love Life University. I would not have chosen any other school, but I also understand that Life University, in order for us to legitimize chiropractic in the mainstream, there are certain hoops that we have to jump through.
Yes.
That's just what it is.
Yep.
These certain mechanistic hoops, board exams,
yep.
Licensures and all that stuff, in order for us to bring chiropractic to the masses
yep.
without being persecuted. These are just the hoops that we have to jump through. However, it doesn't necessarily make it 100% okay. And it's okay to not be okay with all of them, once you recognize it for what it is.
Nice.
So,
you have the awareness of it, but it's dependent upon, and this isn't to deter people from chiropractic school. No,
absolutely not.
We need more chiropractors.
Mm-hmm.
We need so many more. We need more chiropractors of color, and I'll talk about that in a second. We'll dive into that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second, but it is important, yes, to pass the boards, to understand, the things that we need to at an elementary level, like as a doctor, to be able to speak language, to understand pathologies, to understand the biochemistry, to understand all that. Yes, that is vitally important because you are understanding the body, microbiology, how it works. And you got to be able to look at it with an application of chiropractic. How does the nervous system influence all of these things? In addition to choosing my words very carefully.
Freely.
Right. Thank you, sister. What's gonna light you the fuck up in life? What techniques light you the fuck up? Do you want to be a sports chiropractor? Do you want to do a little bit less with tonal applications of chiropractic, which all chiropractic is tonal? I'm not gonna dive down that rabbit hole. Shout out to all my people. But doing a little bit less is more. Or it's like, how are you discovering the artistry of living when you're going through school, let alone the artistry of how you want to be an actual doctor versus just jumping through all the hoops, and then you graduate, you got passed all your boards, like did all the classes, like yeah, nice, that's great. Now what? Yep. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, because the school isn't gonna hold your hand anymore. The school isn't gonna do that. You already paid them. Yep. This is any program now, y'all. This is any freaking program. Yeah. No school is gonna take care and be successful for you. You gotta cultivate that.
After you graduate, they're asking you for money.
Oh, they asking right away.
I got the alumni things literally right after I graduate. Okay, we need your information.
Right.
We need to know how to get in contact with you so we can send you these letters. So
don't disappear.
To the school, okay? And don't get me wrong, I do want to donate to my school because I have transformed so much.
The vast majority don't. The vast people don't want to because they get disconnected from school and disconnected from themselves.
But it's the thing, we have to, no matter how difficult it was, life is difficult. It's always going to be that way. You're going to have trials and tribulations. You're going to have highs. You're going to have lows. It just comes with the territory, you know? But do not get disconnected from the institution that helped to shape you, who you are now. Whether it was through complete positive experiences or, complete negative or somewhere in the middle or whatever. I honestly had great positive experiences because I recognized that the people who were in power in our institutions were genuinely trying within their realm that they could possibly do, to help make our experiences better, and especially for me as a student of color to help make my experience better. I just learned, throughout life, I've always had to be a lot tougher. I'm not shying away from situations. I've heard horror stories, the higher up you get into the program and the smaller the class sizes are, of course, the more white they are. There have been many times in labs where I was the only student of color and a woman, the only black woman.
And a woman.
And, classrooms full of men, white men, whatever. But I never shied away from that or allowed those situations to make me feel small just because you have to stand up. If you don't, then it's like you're automatically thrown to the wayside. And that's just honestly the card that we are dealt when being a person of color in a majority white space. You have to stand up.
You have to. And
if you don't, you're not going to have anything handed to you whatsoever. So, I've heard stories of students who were like, oh, well, the white guys in class, they don't want to partner with me. Or so. You know how many times I've walked up to a person and be like, hey, want to be my partner?
Talk that.
That's it. And if you know me as a person, I'm very sensitive and also very introverted. But there's a hat that you have to put on. There's an armor. The same way you get dressed to go somewhere, that is your armor that you put on to be like, hey, I have to insert myself in this space. Why? You're creating space not only for you and for your education, but also for future people who look like you. You know, we have that responsibility, and that's unfortunately the cards that we have been dealt.
Yep.
But that's the situation for what it is. You know, so we have to take that action. We have to be the ones to step up in love, in light.
Yes.
You know, always stepping up with love, not with hatred, not with any like inferiority, because we are not inferior. We're very intelligent. You know, we know how to do the same things and sometimes even better in certain situations. So it's just, you know, not shying away from those because of stories.
Because it might not be the norm, because it's like, oh, man.
It's only going to be the norm if you allow it to be.
Yes, and it needs to be, because I think we said this earlier already, but less than 1% of chiropractic and chiropractors are black. And I think it's actually some kind of I think it's Hispanics as well. It's like less than 3% are chiropractors, and it's just like, man, how important is it for us to really just step into and essentially break ground? Because I believe it was until like the 1950s or 1955 where the first black student actually enrolled at Palmer College of Chiropractic. And even then, because they were denied, like B.G. Palmer denied, like we were denied up until then the right to even go to school. Which is
Definitely.
wild. Keep going.
And it's like, in reality, you know, chiropractic is for everyone. Chiropractic is for everyone who has a spine, whether you're white, black, Puerto Rican, Asian, whatever it may be. Like, chiropractic is for everyone, and so everybody needs to be represented within the field of chiropractic. And so, like, you know, we were talking about it earlier, and my assumption that it was like at least 5%, but in reality, it's less than 1%, and that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know, and just even having that reflection coming out of chiropractic school, like, man, I am less than 1% in my own profession.
And we get spoiled at LifeView, because LifeView, I don't know the percentage, but it's like that's the norm. But at Cleveland College of Chiropractic and other countries, and like it is far and in between. Like there might be one like in the class of 20, 30, 40, 50, 100.
We are very spoiled at Life University. We are very diverse. We have students from everywhere. From Europe, from, you know, who are black, who are Puerto Rican, from China. You know, we have students from everywhere. And so Life University is an amazing place to be if you are a person of color.
Yes.
But do not get me wrong, we were still a very small percentage of our class.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was in a class of 206, and I can almost name every single one of the black men. But I'm pretty sure, out of 206, there's 9 or 10 of us. I know there's 9 or 10 of us because I fucking counted.
I know every black person that I started the program with.
Yes.
And I can count them on 2 hands. Out of the class, it's like 150 something or whatever. So, you know, that just lets you know how small it is. But at the same time, it's a lot bigger than a lot of the other chiropractic schools.
Yeah.
So just even having that reflection post-graduation, it's just like, man, like, I did something that not many people who look like me have done.
Fucking right you have.
Like,
fucking trailblazer.
Whoa, that's crazy.
You're a fucking trailblazer. If you are black, if you're Hispanic, I don't give a fuck. If you were the first person in your family to go to undergrad, let alone master's, let alone a doctorate, like, yo, give yourself a pat on the motherfucking back right now, because you are doing something new, and it is imperative that you celebrate those accomplishments, and you don't hang yourself in what you don't do, but you celebrate what the fuck you have done, because you should be proud.
And don't ever feel like you don't belong there.
Don't ever feel like you don't ever belong.
You have worked hard to get there. I am one of those students. I'm the first in my family to get a bachelor's, first in my family to become a doctor, and now first in my family to even work on my master's after this. I'm so done because I'm just doing my life. But, you know, don't ever feel like you don't belong. That is one thing I can say, and I know that, you know, that is an experience that others who look like me have felt, is like they do not belong. Simply because of where they came from and where their classmates may have come from are 2 totally different situations. But if you are there, you belong there. You chose to be there, you belong there. So own it. Own it, own it, own it, 24/7. Do not walk into any of these situations as a victim or feeling less than. I've sat in classrooms. I've even had teachers with people who are completely racist, outright racist, and just having these ignorant attitudes. But I never let them deter me from getting my education, ever.
Yes.
You belong to be there and have your own views and your experiences just like those other people.
Yes, you are valid, and you get to literally color up that fucking that classroom. You get to be your authentic self, and like Chantelle said earlier, you got to know who the fuck you are, so that way you can step into all of your expression and all of your energy because you deserve it. Not only you deserve it, but the people behind you deserve it. The people in that classroom deserve it because they don't know the life you lived. And with all this George Floyd shit, Ahmaud Arbery thing going on, like with all the list of black men and women that have been killed out there, then you got to go out there and be your fucking best to pass a test. You got to submit all these assignments and everything, but no one's checking in with your mental health because they simply do not know. That's why it is your privilege, or I almost want to say it is your privilege, and I'll stick to that word, or your responsibility. We gotta show things how they're differently. We gotta speak our truth. It's your
human right. It is your human right. People like to say, there were some who believe that racism was gone and that it's dead, and it's like, no, it was never gone. But now, it seems like, it's reemerging. It's really not.
It's not.
It's just the fact that everybody has a little device that has a camera on it that can record video and take pictures.
Yep.
And now these things are not going undocumented.
Yep.
Accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's not people of color who thought racism was gone and dead.
Right.
Mind you.
Right.
It's not us.
We know.
We knew.
We knew.
Now we got proof. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, on one hand, we have evidence. And it's like, on one hand, I hate seeing this trauma, these traumatic experiences being displayed on social media and shared multiple times. However, on the other hand, we are creating a social responsibility for justice.
Yes.
When it is recorded and captured on camera, especially video. Because, video, especially if it's a clear video, you got these iPhones.
No questions.
There's no question as to what happened.
Y'all see it.
And you know what I'm saying? And if anybody tries to spin it or be like, this is fake and all that stuff, that just shows you the character, really, of the system.
Yep.
Which our system lacks character, but that's
a whole...
Pass
the baton, sister.
Oh my gosh.
I love to shout out Sean King for the work that he's done in exposing and just being such a potent resource for so many people, black, Hispanic, blue, white, all things, to just find out what the fuck is going on and just how can people do things and what action steps can they take. Because I've had so many people, and I love y'all so much. I love the fuck out of y'all. Like, thank you for all the people that are more aware and just like, man, I don't know what to even do. Like, I'll never relate to you because I just don't know what to do. But man, I'm here for you. And I'm just like, I just look at them, I'm like, thank you. And I'd even like to say that there are people that are like, well, shout out to Kevin Kinney, who asked a question on Facebook, and it's something along the lines of, for my white folk or for my white friends and people, what are you doing to make sure that your kids don't kill my kids in the future?
Yes, I remember that.
And one of my friends reached out to me, and she was just like, well, I feel like this is causing more divisiveness, or, it's more hate. And I was like, and she turned it into about her. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, see, that's your privilege in motion. Because you aren't even bothering to hear or see the intention of what this man was asking, because he's talking in like a legacy kind of standpoint, because a mindset needs to change, action needs to change. It's like people are more aware, but it's like awareness is the first step, and then action needs to come, and then actualization.
Awareness is that first step, and it's like also even just accepting. Oof. And I feel like for my white colleagues, and just white people in general, accepting that, your people who look like you have committed these atrocities. It may not have been you specifically, or possibly somewhere in there, maybe not even your ancestral line, but it is people like you or who look like you who benefit from the systems that have been in place for hundreds of years now, because it was created for people who look like you. And these are the atrocities that they're deciding to commit.
Yep.
Because you're not born racist. You're taught how to be racist. From a young child, you're taught, ooh, we don't associate with those people. Oh, you see the black guy over there with the braids in his hair and, the clothes that he's wearing. We don't associate with them. We don't
do that.
Anytime you say something like that, that's straight up racist. And you're teaching the next generation to be racist. So he posed a very valid question, yep. Dr. Kevin Kinney. Like, what are you doing to make sure that your kids don't grow up to kill mine? Mm-hmm. And honestly, he was speaking, with a very valid question, but a question that can kind of be posed by all people of color, mm-hmm. especially a lot of us of color who are in this chiropractic profession that is like 99% white. What are you guys doing? Because, our mission is to promote chiropractic to the world. Not just to white people, not just to black people, not just to Puerto Rican people, but to the world. Everybody who has a spine. Mm-hmm. So what are you all doing to help these situations?
And I would say just create a potent container of acceptance. One thing I have heard too, like, oh, it makes me uncomfortable, to hear all these things that, whether ancestors or not, or what people might do. I'm like, yeah, try fucking living it.
It makes me uncomfortable to know that my ancestors were brought here in chains, the ones that survived, right. And were, forced to labor and be 3/5 of a person. And, when the world became more civilized, was tear gassed, and, all these other things just because we're fighting for our human rights within this country. It makes me sad. It makes me uncomfortable to know that even now, in 2020, in 2019, when I was even going through chiropractic school, that I'm sitting in spaces with these people who support people that have these racist and violent ideals. You know what I'm saying? Because you could be racist all day and just be talking. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I just don't like black people, blah, blah, blah. But when it becomes violent, mm-hmm. that's the problem. And it's always been violent. Yeah. Lynchings, yeah. Emmett Till, and even with George Floyd, it just so happened that that the entire situation was caught on camera. Yeah. And it's very painful to watch because I watched it. I made myself watch it. I did.
Me too.
I had reservations of watching it because as it stands now, we are all just so desensitized to killing and murders and all that stuff, even through video games and just movies and blah, blah. But this was real. And it was traumatic. And it was just an inhumane situation that was perpetrated. And so, to have a colleague utilize this situation to try and promote chiropractic.
Oh my God, I saw that. That was like, oh my God, what the fuck?
To have a colleague, not of color, definitely not of color, use this situation. And the sad part of it all is I know him. I served with him in Haiti. Oh, no. Which is a country full of black people who look like me, And so for him to say that, it was very confusing. Yeah. And I know that, some of my colleagues who don't know him were extremely hurt by it. It made them lose hope in our profession. It made them paint our other colleagues as just, part of the problem and privileged and all that stuff, when I know that to not be true. Yeah. But I also know it to be true that there are those who do have those same mindsets. And honestly, what's even more problematic to me was the fact that he could not see how he was wrong.
Oh, man.
That was even more so the problem. I'm not looking necessarily for apologies and all, but just acceptance of man. Oof. I should not have said that. Oof. Because it was very insensitive, and it's taking a very, very sensitive and traumatic situation to a lot of people who look like us and trying to turn it into a promotion. for our profession.
It's a leverage of invalidation, and a lot of times people in healthcare, they don't feel validated because insert doctor, insert profession here, they don't feel heard, they don't feel seen, they don't feel listened to. So that's why we get to practice in situations like this to really listen. Like, one thing that y'all can do is sit down with your best friend that's black and, you know, may give you the permission to say nigga. I'll just say that shit right now because, like, that's a whole nother thing, right? It's like, bro, well, we grew up together. It's like, man, the level of fucking charge, or if it's a song, like, bro, like, I remember going through undergrad and song be going on, and you just see these white people just screaming. It's like, man, I'll just say, leave it at just no awareness without diving down that
just
rabbit
one
hole.
little tiny thing I want to say about that too.
Sister.
You know, seeing a white person say that term, the N-word, it's low-key traumatic because that was a term utilized by y'all's ancestors to derogatively refer to mine.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of like the B word, you know, that it's just been reclaimed and trying to, you know, have this. I don't like using it, period. I don't like using either, you know, but that's just my preference. But it's like taking that term and trying to reclaim it and find strength in it and even like some sort of endearment. But to have a white person say that, it's like, it's low-key traumatic. Yeah. It's kind of like, it's resonant.
It may not be the hard ER,
no,
but yo, it's still it's there.
Exactly.
It's freaking there, and it's wild because this is a podcast for people of the world. In South Africa, that where Trevor Noah tells a story, but in like other countries, it has no relevance, which puts America in this picture box, like kind of just frame. Like one of our friends, Ash. Queen A over in Australia.
Oh, I love Ash.
Yeah, I love Ash. She's like, man, it's really wild watching America right now. You know, with all the things, you know, with the pandemic, but like, you know, with black people getting fucking murdered. She's like, man, it really just feels like there's a bunch of like Nazis like out there, like just the level of inhumane just treatment of each other, and it's like, man, this has been a thing for generations. Like Eric Thomas, like E.T., the preacher, talks about this shit. It's like, man, just in the 1950s or 60s, in 1970s, he talks about on like one of his new albums on Spotify how there was just lynchings, or there's a lynching museum in Mississippi, or is it Bama? I think it was Mississippi. And it's like, that was just a few decades ago, but it's like, nah, bro, like that, the modern lynchings are still going on right now. Then that's getting implanted in fucking little kids' subconscious. But it's like, man, it sounds wild, but I never seen a white person get fucking killed on the internet and that shit to be showed. Always shown. The blankets always over their face, or it's like, but it's like, man, I saw Ahmaud Arbery, and when I saw that shit, it was like, bro, I've gone on runs so many times. That's literally how I got to fucking Central Connecticut State University. My legs propelled me there, and I was able to grow up in a suburb, and I knew a lot of my neighbors, and I was able to actually go on a sprint up Country Lane Hill. But don't get it twisted, because when a car would slow down, or whenever it may be, and I'm on my jog, like, I have full awareness. Even if there's headphones or earphones, I am completely present to my surroundings, because as a black man, especially, or a Hispanic man, there's no guarantee that you're gonna fucking make it if you're going on a walk, if you're going on a jog, if you're going in your car, and God forbid you get pulled over. I was just driving today and looking at the cop cars, like, and I had this confidence. I know I'm gonna be okay, but still, I can feel my nervous system flare up.
Like, you can feel your sympathetic start to activate a little bit, because it's just, you know, and this just, to my people of color, period, no fear. This is not for us to live a life of fear. This is just for us to be aware.
Yeah.
It's for us to be aware, and it's for our white counterparts to be aware of the reality of our lives and just the mess that we go through on a daily basis. You know, the fact that you kind of have to be overtly aware and kind of, you know, even looking over your shoulder, or, you know, if you're just driving, minding your own business, knowing that your insurance is paid and your license is valid and you're not speeding. But if there's a cop car that passes you, you might have a little twinge of nervousness, you know, like, oh my gosh, like, what's going to happen, you know? But so this is just a reminder, like, we are not living a fearful life.
No.
You know, not even in the face of people looking like us who are being lynched, who are being murdered inhumanely. No fear, just awareness.
Beautiful. And as you expand your awareness, but let's just breathe that shit out real quick. Just.
It's a lot.
Thank you for diving in with me, sister.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely.
I'm so elated.
Just
glad to come and share. And I just, even just in these times right now, no fear. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be sad.
Permission.
You're allowed to feel all of your feelings.
Yes.
Whatsoever. Whatever you're feeling, you're allowed to feel them. They are valid. They are very real. The only thing that you really do have control over is your actions.
Nice. And before we dive in, I'd love just to hit on a few closing questions and things and how to be grounded. Like Chantelle was saying, this time of recuperation, cultivate y'all rituals. I rock this shirt for a reason. Shout out to Dr.Brett Jones in creating Move, Breathe, Meditate. That process in the morning of discovering body, more awareness of self, breathing, and allowing you to breathe deeper and access more of your neurology, access some of the emotions that might be sitting in your limbic system unprocessed. Mm-hmm. It's the unintegrated emotion that will lead to more expression, and like what Chantelle has been saying, give yourself permission to feel all that you may be feeling. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're a Black man. You don't have to be stoic. You don't have to be angry.
You don't have to
grind. You don't have to do that. It's okay to cry. It's powerful when Black men cry in particular. It's going to be a fucking book sometime. Someone's going to write it. But it's maybe. It is, maybe. But it's okay. And there's one other point to that. Drawing a blank, but anywho. Here it is. I got you. Here. Thank you, universe. Yes. Repression is the biggest form of subluxation, or repression for my non-chiropractic people is the biggest form of less life. Mm-hmm. It is only when we give ourselves the permission to live all out that we can live a life that is worth living, and give each other the permission to be superheroes. Quoting Glass, I think it was. It's only through giving the permission of each other to be superheroes can we rewrite what's possible, or can we step into a new expression in America and in the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, it has been absolutely. Man, I hope y'all take a big gulp today. I hope y'all take a big gulp. Don't worry, we're gonna build the energy, y'all. We're gonna build the energy. But I recently interviewed Dr. Lance Von State, and he just remixed my whole thought with this question. But any resources or any books that have been super valuable in your application in life that you'd like to share with people?
The Upside of Your Darkside.
Oh,
it's an amazing book. I just started listening to an audiobook recently, and it's more so talking about the strength of your dark personalities, or your anger, your guilt, just those negative feelings that we feel like we shouldn't be having, so we try to fight them. And so just take a great listen to that book. And I love a lot of business books, so like The Millionaire Next Door, just certain things like that. The One Thing, they just help to just reframe my mindset around wealth, around productivity. The Self-Discipline Blueprint, that's a super duper easy read, and it's kind of even in line with The One Thing of how we as humans, we're not computers. We can really only do one thing at a time. We may be thinking about 10,000 other things, but in reality, we can only do and be good at one thing at a time. So, definitely those things, and just really coming into more of a mindfulness and awareness state of mind. It's very difficult because we are used to being mindless.
Yeah.
Or just imitating what it is that, we've grown up around, or, just have experienced. So, it's okay to be calm. It's okay to be soft. I'm very soft-spoken. Mm-hmm. It's okay to be the opposite of what you think you should be.
Oof.
So just little tidbits.
Hope we all like some nuggets with y'all soul coffee, man.
I don't drink coffee, but I have a lot of soul. Hello.
Well, this is going to be a fun question for you then. The soul coffee question is, how would you describe your brew or or a batch of soul coffee to share with the world?
Ooh. Firstly, I would definitely say my beverage is smooth.
Oof.
You know, it hits just right.
Oof.
You know, there's a twinge of sweetness.
Ooh.
Definitely not very bitter.
And
it's good for you.
Ooh. There we go. Can I get some snaps as we close out this episode?
There we go.
Oh, my beverage. I love that. Woo, man.
Because I'm not a drink, I'm a whole beverage.
Oh, that's right, sister. Hey now. Cool. And one more time, how can these amazing people reach out to you if they'd love to just share any nugget or share what resonated with them or just reach out to you?
Yeah, definitely via Instagram. I'm always having access to that. My Instagram handle is Divine, Devighne. Slightly a little different, you know.
Just like me.
Divine and high. There we go. You know, definitely my Instagram. You can reach me on my even through email.
Okay.
You know, Chantelle, ChantelleFraZ @gmail.com. So those are really the two major things I relate to, because I just try not to be on a whole lot of stuff.
Good for you.
It's not good for my mental health.
Talk about it. More to come on that.
Hello.
Dr. D. Ooh, quick D. Dr. D shout out.
D,
Hello.
yes.
I'm going to get him to listen to this shit. Are we
all together? All right.
little life view humor for y'all people. If you don't know shit, just ask a question.
Shout out to Life You.
Yeah, shout out to my people. Shout out to, one last thing. Shout out to the partners of all the people going through both the DC programs, the master programs, and holding a space for your partner. Just explore deeper. Yeah, we're talking about you, Lenny. I see you raising them eyebrows over there. Yeah. Hell yeah, y'all. Well, thank you for tuning into another episode of Soul Coffee, y'all. Drop a 5-star review. Yes. Share it with a friend. Get your downloads up for your boy as this thing continues to just take off, y'all. I just want to thank y'all for my loyal listeners. Like, y'all, the texts that have been pouring in, the messages, the Instagram DMs, the emails, the Facebook messages. Like, y'all, super, super Phil. I just want y'all to know y'all are my soul coffee, because I leave each interview, each podcast, each message, I always leave a better, stronger, more on purpose human being. So, y'all, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the day. Color feel that they have a voice for themselves, to depict a little bit of the journey growing up, discovering their voices, discovering who they are, working their way through higher education,